We already did non-car guy misconceptions about cars, gamer misconceptions about cars, and now we're going full meta and doing car enthusiast misconceptions about cars. That's right, boys, it happens to the best of us, especially to beginner enthusiasts who still have some misconceptions about cars. So here are 5 noob enthusiast misconceptions about cars. Front-wheel drive cars don't need spoilers or wings. This misconception stems from the fact that rear-wheel drive cars are known to kick out their rear under massive acceleration, so they use a spoiler to keep their rear better planted. With this logic, people think that front-wheel drive cars will never have such an issue, since the front wheels are the one doing the accelerating, and thus the car has no chance of losing grip in the back end. I still come across a lot of people on forums, on YouTube, and at car meets who still ridicule the very thought of a front-wheel drive car with a spoiler or wing. Also, clarification between spoiler and wing, I'll just write it on the screen for those who don't know, but to those who already do, let's move on. When it comes to racing on a track and going through corners, downforce is downforce, and any car with a big ol' wang on it will indeed benefit from that added downforce and corner better. Whether it's front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or whatever, that doesn't change the fact that downforce is downforce. However, when it comes to straight lines and spoilers, that's when the line becomes blurrier, as a lot of people debate that most front-wheel drive cars don't need a spoiler to achieve better 0 to 60 times, much less for the quarter mile, and that it's just slowing the car down instead. When it comes to a normal grocery getter like a Nissan Sentra, a spoiler probably could be more detrimental than beneficial, and even for a sportier front-wheel drive car like a Honda Civic Si, the benefits are probably near negligible. However, for really performance-oriented front-wheel drive cars such as race cars or heavily modified drag cars, they do indeed achieve better results with a spoiler. So next time you hear someone declaring that all front-wheel drive cars don't need a spoiler or wing, send them this way. Pronouncing names wrong. I still do this myself, but I try my best to learn. My rule is to pronounce the name from the country of origin, how they say it there. So Porsche is Porsche, not Porsche. Lamborghini Gallardo is Gallardo, not Gallardo or Galardo. A lot of people say it like that. The L's make a Y sound. It sounds a lot better for the car too. The Galardo just sounds like a weird tub of lard that it's really happy or something. Gallardo just sounds like an actual supercar that way. I always say Audi interchangeably almost. I just say whichever one I feel like, but it's supposed to be Audi apparently. And perhaps the most clusterfuck of one is a certain British company whose logo I'll just put on screen because I've heard it said so many ways. In America they say Jaguar, in other countries they say Jaguar, and then British people tell me it's a Jaguar. At this point, I'm just going to do the Jeremy Clarkson route and just say Jag. At the end of the day, I don't think it's anything worth flipping a table over. Just briefly correct someone if they pronounce a car name wrong. Don't make them feel like an idiot because just because they say the car name, because this applies to me too, because people they act like my whole video's ruined when I say a car name wrong, which happened in my Murcielago video. Murcielago, I don't even care what the car is pronounced like. Apparently it's Murcielago is the original pronunciation, but everyone says a Murcielago or Murcielago instead. So I don't know. But it frustrated people so much that they said it ruined the video apparently. I don't think that's true. Don't worry, this is probably the most petty thing on this list. The rest will be more serious. Moving on now. Automatic cars are slow. In the past, this was very true, as manual transmission cars were just the better transmission no matter the situation. They were faster, more efficient, easier to repair, and more engaging to drive. However, times have changed, and manuals only have one consistent advantage over automatics, which is being fun to drive. Even to this day though, what bugs the hell out of me are those new fanboy enthusiasts who like to jump on the elitist train, and the elitist train exists for any community, like the whole sub versus dub issue in anime, and all the gaming community is so much riddled with elitism, especially League of Legends and Overwatch. It's the same in the car community. That's just the day we live in. Again, that's nothing to be ashamed for, and that only applies for modern cars. You can still easily run circles around an old automatic, and if you're in the market for a used car anything before the early 2000s, I highly recommend you still buy a manual. it's still seen as a rite of passage to at least know to drive one. Again, second time I'm telling this story, I first learned on a derpy 2002 Volkswagen Jetta that I traded one of my friends in university. We traded cars for the summer because he needed something nicer to show up to his internship with. So I let him drive my lifeless CVT 2013 Nissan Sentra, and I got to hoon about in his derpy 200 horsepower Jetta. Despite being the most fun I've ever had with a car, I decided that if I ever bought a performance car, I'd get paddle shifters. And really, if I had to tell you the reason behind that, I'm just a sucker for how paddles look. Like, admittedly, it makes me feel like it's a supercar, and someday I'd love to own one. That's just who I am. That decision carried through with my purchase of my current car, obviously my 2016 Mustang GT, and it'll probably be like that for any future cars, aside from maybe a project car, a fun project car. Notice how I'm always associating manual with fun, because no matter how old you are or how much time passes, I guarantee you that stick shift will still be the most fun you'll ever have compared to any other car. And basically what it boils down to is stop being an elitist. It really is just, if you like performance and every single second, all those fraction seconds really do matter to you, get an automatic transmission. If you want some fun, get a paddle shifter. If you want all the fun, get a manual transmission, because who the hell cares about fractions of seconds when you're just cruising about, if you're just driving around town, going on nice back roads. Maybe you can still do some track days too, because it's not always about getting the best lap times all the times, especially if you're not benchmarking the car. Go get a manual then. However, if you just hate shifting, don't want anything to do with its existence, go get a CVT. Also, while you're at it, here's the door, please leave this channel. Just kidding, that was a joke. You can stay, I really need the views actually, so please stay. A lot of noob enthusiasts like to use four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive interchangeably. I can forgive their mistakes since they are very familiar sounding, but understand that the few differences they have make them worlds apart in how they're used. Four-wheel drive cars are predominantly off-road vehicles designed to take on tough terrain. They send power to all four wheels equally, which is great for gripping the rugged wilderness, especially for low-speed situations too. However, in everyday applications, they tend to have worse gas mileage and they understeer through corners, since all the wheels are trying to go the same speed, but they're receiving power equally. But this isn't logical, since when you're turning, the inside wheel is actually traveling a shorter distance. Some vehicles mitigate this issue by allowing the driver to toggle the car between four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. All-wheel drive cars, on the other hand, send power at varying levels to each of the wheels, depending on the situation, so they don't understeer as much. Supercars with all-wheel drive utilize it to launch as fast as possible with as little wheel spin as possible. Meanwhile, average everyday cars use them for extra grip in rain or snow situations. You could probably still off-road with all-wheel drive, but chances are it'd be noticeably more frustrating, and it wouldn't do as well in those low-speed grip situations, especially if you're rock crawling. I would highly recommend you still get a four-wheel drive system. In short, just associate four-wheel drive with Jeeps, trucks, and SUVs, whereas all-wheel drive is usually for crossovers, performance cars, or all-weather grocery getters. In the same vein, people mix up four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. People do that with mid and rear engine. Most people think that if the engine is behind where the driver sits, it's considered a mid-engine car. However, some cars have varying placements to where the engine is once it's behind the driver. The Porsche 911, for example, has a rear engine placement, not mid-engine. I'm clarifying this because a few years ago, I was still a wee car enthusiast fledgling, and I myself made the mistake of calling a 911's engine mid-engine. I wasn't the only one who made that mistake, as I still hear a lot of newbies do it. So I'll briefly explain the most common engine layouts and why they are named the way they are. A traditional front engine car has the engine on the front axle, not anywhere near the rear axle, so like my Mustang GT for example. A mid-engine car has the engine between the two axles of the car. So here's an interesting fact. The most common example would be something like a Lamborghini Aventador. However, it can also be like a Ferrari F12. So in the F12, the engine is in front of the driver. However, it is still considered mid-engine because it is located in between the rear and front axle. I bet some of y'all didn't even know that, so you're getting 2 for 1 this entry. So by now you probably know what rear engine means. Rear engine means that it's behind the rear axle or somewhere in that general area. So it's nowhere near the front axle, nor lying in between the traditional mid-engine car. To recap everything, front engine is near the front axle, mid-engine is in between the axles, rear engine is near the rear axle. So that's all for this video. As always, if you're new here and love cars, then go check out my other videos and stick around by subscribing so you can see when the new ones come out. That's a joke, obviously, since the subscribe button doesn't even do that anymore half the time, so hit that bell too. Other than that, thank you for watching, and see y'all next time. Bladed Angel out.